at BEL_radio. And if you missed any part of this live broadcast here on Spreaker or High Plains Talk Radio Network, you could check us on our rebroadcast outlets, including WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station. Shout out to everybody in the Philadelphia area, even though you beat my Mets this week. We'll get you back on the rebound. You can also check us out at the Internet Conservative Radio Network, ICRN, at Red State Talk Radio, at Sackheads Media on replay, and as I said, on High Plains Talk Radio Network live here, and K98 Talk. But even if you miss us at any of those outlets, you can always check us out on podcast at iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbay, Player FM, Google Play Music, Blueberry, and other fine outlets where podcasts are played, stored for your listening pleasure. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have our interview with Senator Pat Toomey, the executive director of the Stop Hillary PAC, and we'll have some shenanigans with Andre Walker, and maybe even a little Al Sharpton rebuttal as well. Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines, will be back right after these brief words.
I'm Vito.
And I'm Vito, and we're from WNJC's The Vito and Vito Show.
Every Friday at 1 p.m., you can hear Vito and Vito bring you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservatives who are committed to defending the principles of free markets, liberty, freedom, and individualism from Brooklyn, New York.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show, and check out our blog posts and articles at VitoandVito.com.
Vito and Vito Show every Friday, 1 p.m. on WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station. In Brooklyn,
it's nothing but the truth.
There's a movement in healthcare today. It's a movement of people that's ready to stand up and take charge of their healthcare. It's people like you and me, who are tired of paying too much for healthcare and getting too little. People who are standing up for their values and letting their conscience make decisions based on timeless principles. It's a movement that's sweeping the nation, and you need to be a part of it. Liberty HealthShare is leading the movement of people who are looking for an alternative to traditional health insurance. Liberty HealthShare is a healthcare sharing organization of people who are sharing the cost of healthcare in an easy and efficient way. Choose your own doctor, your own hospital, and live out your values in healthcare. Join the movement. Together, we're changing healthcare for good. Go to www.joinlhs.com or call 800-722-8041.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air. Gene Baradelli back behind Enemy Lines, and on the line with me right now, it is a pleasure to be speaking with the chairman of the Stop Hillary PAC, former legislator himself. You know what? Senator Harvey, I don't even know if you're former. Ted Harvey, how are you doing, sir?
Good. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
So your background is that you started out as like a legislative assistant in the Colorado House of Representatives, who then won election to both the House and the Senate in Colorado, right?
Correct. We have term limits in Colorado, so I was term limited in 2014.
Oh,
I served 13 years in the state legislature. Oh no, I would have left anyway, even if I wasn't.
Well, listen, in this political climate, I can understand why you want to leave. But the reason why we're talking to you, of course, your glowing, history and your background of being a staunch conservative in Colorado has now, I guess, prepared you for the national stage at one of the most pivotal times in our political history. And of course, I'm talking about the soon-to-be coronation of Hillary Clinton as the Democratic nominee. And you are part of Stop Hillary PAC, a group that our listeners are very familiar with from past interviews. Tell everybody about what your role is with Stop Hillary PAC.
Well, I was one of the founding members. We started the PAC probably 24 months ago, and I'm the chairman of the PAC. And we have been working feverishly for 24 months to try to build up an army and mobilize an army around the country that our sole objective is to make sure that Hillary Clinton doesn't become the next president of the United States. And over the course of those 2 years, we've probably got about 1 million people that have joined the PAC and given us their email, and we communicate with them on a daily, weekly basis. And whenever we send out petitions asking them to sign a subpoena, asking the Benghazi committee to subpoena Hillary Clinton, we now have, an overwhelming response. When we did that a year ago, right before the Benghazi hearings, we had over 500,000 subpoenas signed, and we hand-delivered them to the Benghazi hearing. And I think that we have put a lot of pressure on the committee to really be aggressive in investigating what went on. And I think it was because of the pressure that we put on them that it has brought about the revelations of the email server scandal, but even worse than that, the collaboration that was going on between the State Department and the Clinton Foundation. So the Democrats have been on different debates on television saying it wouldn't have been, if it wasn't for the Stop Hillary PAC, none of this would be going on. And that was probably the greatest endorsement that we could have to say that we're responsible for bringing this all to light. And if it means Hillary Clinton is does not become president of the United States because of our efforts, then it's been a great team effort from Americans all across the country.
Absolutely. And your PAC is one of the PACs out there that has been getting results. And proof of that is, published stories that I see, your Benghazi-themed attack ads actually are hurting Hillary, especially with younger voters. And
isn't that interesting?
See that, it's very interesting. And those younger, progressive voters have been flocking to support Bernie Sanders. Do you guys also take credit for the rise of Bernie Sanders? I mean, 6 out of the last 7 primaries, he's been clobbering her, even though he has no shot of winning and he can't win enough delegates and all this other stuff. But do you take credit for part of that rise of young people for Bernie?
I will never take credit for Bernie Sanders. Having said that, though, we are running commercials during every Democrat presidential debate, and we are reminding Americans about who Hillary Clinton is. The mainstream media is doing everything they can to rewrite history and try to define Hillary as somebody much different than the corrupt individual that she is. And the Stop Hillary PAC, that's our sole goal, is to make sure that history is not rewritten and that we are reminding the American public of her trail of corruption from the time she was the First Lady of Arkansas with Whitewater. With Whitewater, all the way up to when she was the First Lady of the United States, and how she tried to discredit Americans that came out against her and her husband. And then when she was Secretary of State, and she did nothing to help our American heroes that were being attacked by radical Islamic terrorists in Benghazi, and she just sat there on her hands and did nothing, and certainly didn't encourage the president to do anything, and resulted in 4 American heroes being killed. And then coming out the next day and she didn't say anything. She sent the ambassador to the UN to go out and say that it was simply because of a video that was made in California that brought up an uprising in Benghazi. And she's been lying to the American public and lying to the American public and lying to the American public, and hopefully it's starting to catch up to her because of the aggressive nature of the Stop Hillary PAC. We're not going to allow the media to rewrite history.
It's been almost a generation of scandal after scandal after scandal for Hillary Clinton. And, you know, it's hard, even now, as we sit here today, we're talking about the email server and the DOJ investigation there. We're talking about dark money with the Clinton Foundation and whether that influenced policy when she was Secretary of State. Talking about Benghazi, of course, you know, you outlined it perfectly. How do you decide what to kind of serve back over the net to her? Because it's like you got a tennis ball machine shooting tennis balls rapid fire at you with every single scandal going on.
And I think that they kind of use that to their advantage because the American people get scandal overload and they just throw up their hands and don't want to listen to it, don't want to hear it anymore. But I think that the situation with the server and the emails and the collusion with the Clinton Foundation, I believe it's going to bring her down. The American public may be too tired of hearing it, but I think the FBI is taking it very, very seriously. When you see that they are actually doing interviews with the former Secretary of State and her staff, and you have the head of the FBI taking a personal role in the investigation, that tells you that this is a serious investigation. And I don't believe it's going to be that she sent out classified emails from her personal server or that she allowed her staff to look at classified emails. I don't think that's going to bring her down. I do believe it's going to be the corruption and collusion between her efforts as Secretary of State and funneling money and feathering her own bed by funneling money to the Clinton Foundation and having people hire her husband in order to get preferential treatment through the Secretary of State's office. I think that corruption rises to a level that the FBI cannot turn their head.
And that's a scandal that kind of broke right around this time last year, when we started talking about Clinton Foundation and dark money and all that, as people were starting to ramp up and looking towards a Clinton candidacy. But there really hasn't been a lot more information on that. This Stop Hillary PAC plan on running more ads with that theme?
Well, we currently are. That's all between the Benghazi situation and the email server. That is really where we are focusing all of our attention. There are so many scandals, like you said, over the last 4 decades of the Clinton legacy, that it's a target-rich environment. But the part that is really going to catch the fire of the American people are those two items, the Benghazi situation and the server. And the fact that one of the greatest movies that has come out in the last 6 months is 13 Hours. The American people understand how serious that was when we left 4 American heroes, defenseless. And we had the ability to protect them, and Hillary Clinton dropped the ball.
It was an absolutely powerful movie. I totally agree with you. I just wonder if because she has no competition on her end. Bernie Sanders, whatever, not really competition. And because Donald Trump has been dominating the news cycle on the Republican end, are you concerned that a Trump nomination will hurt the efforts of stopping Hillary?
That's my role as the chairman of Stop Hillary PAC is to stop Hillary, not to make comments about the Republican presidential nomination. But I think the fact that Trump lost Wisconsin as big as he did last night is a good indication that this Republican primary is not over by a long shot. I think it will go all the way to the convention. I think that it will be a contested convention, and who knows what's going to happen at that point. But I still believe
there's so many different permutations there.
Without a doubt. But I still believe this is going to be a wave election for the Republican Party, because I don't see how Hillary Clinton is able to get through this FBI investigation without being indicted. That doesn't mean that she won't continue to be the candidate, that she won't win